Andrea Heuston here. I am the hostess of the Lead Like a Woman show, where I feature strong, amazing, brilliant female leaders and how they're changing our world for the better. And we're on a roll with the redheads, just so you know. I know you can't see us, but I think this is my third redhead in a row. And so it's making me very happy. We have over 40,000 people on social who are sharing our message of empowering female leaders to empower others. Keep sharing and keep empowering. Follow the show right now as you listen. And if you're so inclined, we'd love it if you head on over to Apple and give us a 5-star review. In this episode, we're going to talk about owning your voice as a leader. But first, before we get to that, this episode is brought to you by Lead Like a Woman. We have created an offer just for you. Get 1 hour of coaching for just $350. That's 50% off. Figure out your voice, your message, your story, and then we can go from there. So head on over to leadlikeawoman.biz and click on the button that says Coach Me for details. And the best way to find me, as always, type the hashtag LeadLikeAWoman into your search bar and it's magic. I come up. Or as always, I am all over LinkedIn. Today, I have the distinct honor of introducing my guest. Using her unique approach, Libby Wagner helps executives create dramatic, memorable impacts so they confidently lead their organizations toward innovative horizons. Isn't that a beautiful sentence? She's the president of Influencing Options, a business consulting and training firm that creates high-trust, high-performance teams and coaches leaders to hone their skills in courageous conversations to impact the quality of their working relationships. Influencing Options training provides practical, immediately usable skills and dramatic results for performance improvement. She is a founding faculty member of the Institute of Conversational Leadership and Invitas with poet David White, and works with inspired leaders across the globe to bring the soulful work of conversational leadership into practice. Libby co-founded The Studio, a change consultancy that utilizes the principles of artistry to foster innovation and build highly engaged organizations with artist entrepreneurs Stephen Morris and Owen O'Sullivan. The antidote to business as usual, The Studio is a place of practice where leaders can experiment with and deepen their unique version of leadership through artistry. Libby leads inspiring events and retreats for organizations and individuals, either on-site or in Ireland each year. Ooh, we got to find out how, huh? So Libby, welcome to the Lead Like a Woman show.
Thank you so much, Andrea. It's incredible to be here with you. I'm so inspired. And I feel like I need a button that says coach me, because it's a great call to action. I know.
Right. Coach me. Do it. I love that. My goodness, you have, I don't like the word story to career, but you have a very interesting career path. You started as a college English professor, which is crazy and wonderful. And then somehow you jumped into civil service, working with the government in the Department of Corrections. Mm-hmm. Quite the leap.
Yes.
I want to know what led you nearly 20 years ago to jump out on your own and create your own company.
Yeah, that's such a great question. And the way that you're describing it, it just demonstrates something I believe, which is that an inspired path is not linear.
That's true, isn't it?
And I bet you've had lots of guests on here who've told you about their inspired paths, and they weren't linear. They were curving and wild and inspired. And,
absolutely.
Sometimes I like to think about that instead of saying like, why didn't I just do this forever? Right.
Yeah.
I loved being a professor. I was good at it. I loved my students. I'm really lucky because sometimes they come find me, like on Facebook or LinkedIn, and that's really cool. Yeah, it's very cool. And actually what ended up happening was a life event. I lost my sister Karen to breast cancer. She was only 36 years old. It was devastating for my family. And even though everyone said, okay, don't make any big decisions, don't do anything dramatic, I sort of couldn't help myself. And
you did it anyway.
And grief is a funny, strange country we visit. And I always, tell people, I think we come back from it, but we're forever changed. And, so I left my tenured teaching job security or whatever. And I took a crazy job working for the Washington Department of Corrections.
Wow.
And it is really weird because I didn't have any personal experience with prison, except when I was in graduate school, I actually started a Poets in the Prison program.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, thank you. I actually had been inside working with people who were writing and trying to express, hard things. And so when that would show up on a resume, people were intrigued by it.
Of course.
And I ended up getting to work with the state government branch and helped people become teachers who were going to be working in training and teaching inside the Department of Corrections.
Wow. What a fascinating jump. I mean, that's incredible. But what then? I mean, it's not linear, obviously, but then you jumped out on your own.
Yeah. So we got a new governor in the state of Washington, and she said her first order of business was to cut 1,000 management jobs. And I had no seniority. It wasn't my first career. I didn't have a lot of credentials as a poet to be working in prisons. So I got laid off. Oh. And that had never happened before. And at first it was so interesting. And I'm sure some people can relate to this. At first I was like, and then I thought, well, I actually like working here that much. So maybe
I'm not sure I like it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I was working with teams at the time, and I didn't know this. And I think this is something about, leading like a woman. And it's not that it only happens to women, but I think sometimes because we're often taught to undervalue our talents, I actually was really good at working with teams and groups. But I just thought I didn't think it was a thing. I thought it was
it is a thing. Yeah. As you know,
it's a thing. Yeah. And so anyway, I went on a trip with some other writers to Mexico after I got laid off, because what do you do if you don't have a job? And someone asked me a really important question. She said, well, if money were no object and you could do anything you wanted to do, what would you do? And I said, well, I would like to help teams and groups get better and especially be nicer to each other.
That's important, right?
Yeah. And I just I don't know, I was just talking off the top of my head. And she said to me, you'd probably be really good at that. And, didn't make fun of me, didn't say, ooh, no, you're going to go over to the dark side of corporate work or, anything like that. Because sometimes when you hang out with artists, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Or think.
Of course.
And so I didn't know very much, Andrea. And I was just like, okay, I think I'm going to start a business.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And look at you now. It's 19 and a half years later.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. No one's more surprised than I.
Well, congratulations. I think that's a huge, huge leap. And to do something on your own after you've always worked for somebody else is not easy, because it really isn't.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I have coached people who are either leaving corporate jobs or transitioning, and they have a great idea and they're very inspired. And I always say to them, you have to like getting the business as much as you like doing the business.
Yes.
And that's something, that we don't often know when we get started. We just are really excited about our idea or what we think we have to offer. And we don't know. I didn't know, let's just put it that way, that it was also about marketing and relationship building and sales, which I wouldn't even have said at the time. Like,
right.
No sales for me.
Sales. No, I get it. Yeah. For some reason, sales is a dirty word sometimes. I just don't understand it, because it really is about relationships. Now, Those relationships look different because one generation wants a certain way of relating. And then you move through the generations and through the different stages of people and different ways of relating. So different ways of selling. So interesting. Yeah. I had the same experience. I will tell you that right now. Exact same experience when I leapt out on my own 29 years ago. I thought, I'll just do what I do. Wait, you have to find the work to do the work. So there was always that. So when you started your first company, and you have multiple companies now, I would say president and founder first of Libby Wagner and Associates. Am I saying Wagner right?
Yes, you are. Yep.
Good. Just making sure it's not Wagner. So, never know. But I want to know, Libby, when you started that first iteration of your company, what went right?
Well, I think because I've been an educator and a learner, I came back from that trip thinking, and I told my family, I think I'm going to start a business. And I don't know what they thought. They probably talked about me behind my back because, that's what families do sometimes.
Yeah, of course they do.
And, but they also, I'm lucky to have a family that, believed in me and thought, well, give it a try, so I didn't know a lot, but what I did do right was I got curious. And I remember thinking, well, there must be a book on this somewhere. I ordered quite a few books on consulting and coaching and things like that. And most of them, honestly, were not very good. They were okay, but they were super boring. I have a bias about funny. Business writing, and that's boring.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah,
I don't want to read it. I'm sorry, that's my bias. Please don't make me read something boring.
It doesn't have to be. But I did find a mentor who helped me learn. Yeah, helped me learn about how to actually become a businesswoman. He was very different than I, and from the East Coast, and I live on the West Coast because I'm kind of easygoing that way.
Yep.
And
I see you and hear you, friend.
Yeah, my goal was like not to cry when I got off of the calls, because I just wanted to do everything right. But I'll tell you what did go right is I played to my strengths. Right. I knew I was good at writing. I was good at speaking, and I was good at teaching. So those were the first activities that I spent my attention on in order to create my business and to start to get clients.
Wow. That's incredible. So you really honed at the tip of your spear is what you did.
Absolutely. And I still, we're speaking on Zoom today, and I'm grateful for that. I mean, everyone is grateful for video conferencing and what we've been through in the last few years, but I prefer in-person communication. I like to say I'm a little bit of a professed Luddite. I would prefer not to look at my cell phone so much, things like that.
Oh my goodness.
But I really learned that the work of my work was going to be about creating trusting relationships with my clients and playing to my strengths.
So important, because when you play to your strengths, you're then creating value for other people and yourself based on what you're good at, what you love. Yes. So what a better, that's that ikigai. It's that Japanese ikigai where all those pieces cross over into that perfect Venn diagram, into the perfect piece. So I think it's beautiful. So I want to back up for just a second, because there was something intriguing in your profile when you were a professor at Peninsula College. Among the courses that you taught was one that I was really interested in. And it was called Hiking Educational Leadership. So tell me a little bit about that. I just think it's fun to go back and rewind. And what was that?
People always laugh when they're like, you taught hiking? What's to teach? But the truth is, well, the real irony is I have a horrible sense of direction. Like, let's just admit that, right? But at the time, when I first went out to the peninsula, I was married to a man who was a backcountry ranger for Olympus National Park. I spent a lot of time in the backcountry, and actually met him. It's very romantic. I met him while I was working on a volunteer planting crew. So in the middle of a class 4 wilderness with the northern lights above our heads and all that stuff, right? That makes you say no to the Peace Corps and totally change your direction, by the way.
Funny.
So anyway,
totally change your direction.
Yeah. So I mean, as a professor at a small college, sometimes you get, I was really lucky. I had great administrators who supported me. I didn't know really, Andrea, that I was an entrepreneur. I just thought I was challenged by working for others.
Is that what we call it? I just always say there's no I in team.
Yeah. And but anyway, I got to teach a hiking class, and we, we taught people, specific kinds of skills, but, there are also things about courage, things about sharing leadership, things about preparation, things about being able to respond in situations. And, some of those, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
No, I love that. I'm not reining you in. I think it's great. And I'm fascinated by it all. So, and I love hiking. So my little secret about me is that I'd never hiked in my life until I met my husband.
See, look at that.
I know it was something that I didn't do. My family was not active. Let's just say we were not an active family. And so when I met my husband, I mean, his father had climbed in Nepal. His grandfather was a guide on Mount Rainier, and so was his father. And so I went, what am I getting into?
It's the perfect metaphor for most things, honestly.
And you know what? I think it's important to get out in nature. I do my best thinking out there.
Yes,
always.
Absolutely. Well, I one of the things that I did during COVID, because I used to say, when people say, where do you live? I'd say, I have a house in Seattle, because I was never here. I was traveling a lot for work. And then, of course, you know, the world shut down for a bit, and my work certainly changed, and I adapted, thank goodness, and I had the experience of doing things online, so that was fine. But I bought a camper van. I know my former husband would be like turning over in his grave, because we were backpackers, like we were purists, right? But I was like, get me out of the house. So
I gotta go. I feel that way too.
And it was the best decision. And I 2021, I drove across the country by myself in my van. Went from I'm
just floored. Wow.
Yeah, it was great.
That's cool,
it was really great.
And the world was kind of shut down. So you had to be careful.
It was so interesting. I stayed, I wasn't like, people started asking me when I was getting ready to leave, aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid? And I was like, oh no, should I be? I mean, no, I really wasn't. I've traveled a lot alone for business and things like that, but I wasn't worried. People said, are you carrying a gun? I was like, no, I'm not carrying a gun. My goodness, no.
What a question. And such an American question at that, I got to say.
Yes, anyway. I know.
You've spent time in Europe, so.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is really to go out into the natural world and to be in open spaces, and I think too, at the time, I kind of wanted to see if I could fall in love with my country again.
Yeah, I'm not there yet, but sorry, I said that out loud. Yeah. Here's the thing. I've spent time in other countries. I've lived in other countries. You spend a lot of time in other countries as well. And the thing that I have trouble with is the ethnocentricity here. Oh, we're the best in the world. Well, we're not. There are great things in the US. Amazing things in the US. Our access to nature is almost unprecedented. I mean, there's a lot of
pretty incredible. Yeah. And even in Washington State, where we live, sometimes I think, wow, you could just run around this area for a while and never get bored, for sure.
It's true. It's true.
It's so incredibly beautiful. But like, I also was in, they call the Midwest the flyover states, right? Because people are trying to go from coast to coast.
Oh, that's true.
I hadn't really heard of that before. And, one night I spent the night right on the edge of a cornfield, and the corn was 9 feet high. And it was
wow. And we say knee high by the 4th of July, but 9.
There were millions of stars, and but yeah, it was incredible. It just was it was a very soulful journey.
Yeah.
And but it was also fun. I named my van. My van is Roxanne the Gypsy Caravan.
Okay, I like that.
And she's
Roxanne
red too. She's red.
I like it. That's funny.
And
now the song Roxanne is stuck in my head. Thank you to the police, but that's okay.
That's the departure song. Yeah.
I love it. Oh my goodness. All right. That's incredible that you did that. That is a book in itself, by the way. I think you could easily write about that, but you are a writer.
I am. Yes.
A writer, a speaker, a poet, but there's more, I feel like. And so you have, 5 books. It looks like 2 on business and 3 collections of poetry.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to read the titles so people can hear them, but we'll also put them in the show notes. So The Influencing Option, The Art of Building a Profit Culture in Business. What will you do with your 90,000 hours? The Boardroom Poet's Thoughts on Work. And then the 3 collections of poetry, including Like This, Like That, Somehow, and Dancing on the Summer Lawn.
Yeah, there's even one that's missing actually.
Oh no, I missed one.
No, you didn't miss it. I might have forgotten that. The last one that came out was called oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot the name of my own book.
That's okay. We all have those moments. Trust me, I do all the time. My kids make fun of me for it.
It is the reason that it's cool. The reason I mention it is that I got to do one of the most creative things I got to do, which was I worked with my colleague Owen O'Sullivan, who is a brilliant composer and singer from Ireland. And we had this great chat one time, and I said, I'd like to create something that sounds the way that poetry comes to me. Oof. And we just got in this really imaginative, creative
wow.
And so it's an audio collection, actually. That's probably what
that is so cool.
Yeah. And so when you listen to the poems, the way that he's created the music and the tracks and the mixing is the way that I hear something like that.
Oh, I would love to get a hold of that. So you're going to have to share that with us so we can put it into the show notes as well.
I will, definitely.
So speaking of Owen O'Sullivan and Stephen Morris, you lead retreats in Ireland. Share with us a little bit about that.
Well, I went to Ireland for the first time in 1994. I was there to make a presentation at the end of my graduate program, and I fell in love with it. I mean, I'm a little bit Irish. I'm probably a lot more Italian, but I'm a little bit Irish. But I just had this soul connection with the land, and the Irish people have, because of their Celtic roots and their roots to Irish language, they have a very particular way of talking about things. And I met some amazing people who have still remained friends. But one of the things they do is they talk about, they call it a resurrection place.
Ooh.
And I'm sure you've had this experience where you've gone somewhere, you feel like you've been there before.
So much so, yes. And you're like, wait.
That wakes up.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And so Ireland is a resurrection place for me. And so I started, actually, it was really Owen's encouragement. He said, I think you should come over here and teach a writing workshop. And I was like, oh no, that's not going to happen, because A, I'm not an Irish writer. B, like, let's talk about Irish writers, like the echelon of Irish writers.
So many amazing
Irish writers. You should do it. You should do it. And he's a great creative partner because he always talks me into doing stuff that, I wouldn't do. So I love that. Yeah, we started hosting really more, like, I would say, creative practice retreats, because sometimes people who would never have called themselves writers came along for the journey, because I believe a great way to both experience a place and to experience your own creativity is by going into a space and experience it with your senses, and then trying to capture that. So people were attracted to coming to a beautiful place, an intriguing place, and then using creative practices to write about it. So we had tons of fun. And we have tons of fun. We haven't resumed since COVID, but it's about time.
About time, huh?
Yep. And his family does the most amazing retreats called Turas Danam, which is Journey of the Soul in Ireland. And I get to tag along for some of those, and they sing to you everywhere you go.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow. So fascinating. You've been quoted in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Harvard Business Review. You have, like, I called you before we started. I gave you the title of Renaissance Woman. And in a way,
it's a nice compliment.
I just think it fits so well. There's so many different aspects of what you do and the gifts that you bring to companies, to people, to teams that helps them create growth. So how do you do that with your company that really focuses on the leadership coaching, the influencing options?
Well, as you can probably imagine, I'm a poet. And so when I started my business, I had to learn a completely different language.
Yes.
And language is in and of itself an inexact tool. I think people who write poetry, want to write poetry, are trying to say the unsayable. They're trying to get as close as they possibly can to articulating something that you can't really talk about, like love, or like grief, or like joy or sadness or whatever it is. And when people do a good job of that and they get really, really close, that's when it resonates with us. That's when it moves us. And when I began my work with David White, who, really was an early pioneer of bringing poetry into organizations where it wouldn't ordinarily be. And one of his earliest clients was Boeing. And I think that part of what I try to do in my leadership and team development work is, first, we begin with the inner journey of the person. It's so important, I think, for a human life, but certainly for anyone who's going to be a leader, to be able to self-assess and to reflect and to do that inner work first, so that you can show up fully present and wholehearted to whatever it is, whatever the project, whatever the things. And so part of what I do is I work with people to help them find their voices, to get congruent, because if all of that's sorted out, then they can make cool products, or they can provide amazing services, they can create great relationships with their clients, and then a lot of that is also about how we relate to each other.
Well, and I think that's really important, especially in business, well, in life in general, obviously, but also in business, because we have to be able to relate in order to move the needle in any direction. And my needle goes crazy. I'm not just saying moving it up or over, whatever. But what I mean by that is to really move.
Absolutely. And I really feel, honored, lucky to have worked with David in helping to create the Institute for Conversational Leadership's program. And part of what came out of that, and that I also believe, and I think it's part of what you're saying too, is that there's a conversational nature of reality. We are in conversation with one another, with our environment, with our community, with the world. And conversation, but it means the back and the forth. And so I think a lot of people's approach to leadership is sort of talking at people, right? Not talking with them. And so I think that's also part of it. The relating is part of it. The, knowing who you are and what your voice is, so that you can show up to a conversation in a particular way and have courage, things like that.
And that's important, isn't it? To be able to understand who you are yourself in order to show up. Because that's not always easy.
No, it's not. And, I've never called myself a life coach, and I have great respect for people who do that work. But I also realize that even though the context of my work is work, right? Like I might be coaching someone or working with a team, because they're in the workplace, right? The whole person shows up, right? You don't leave half yourself out in the parking lot, or
you can't.
On the other side of my door here, where my dog is, right?
Mine's right beside me, just so you know.
The whole person shows up. So, and I do think that's one thing that women can bring to leadership and to work. I don't know if you know this, but this is a really cool kind of data point statistic. So I have a really good friend who used to work for the International Peace Institute, which is across the street from the United Nations in New York. And they're a research and analyst think tank. And anyway, her particular area of research was the role of women in peacemaking. What's very interesting, but not surprising, is that when they study nations that are at war, are trying to reach peace agreements, when they involve women in the conversation, it lasts at least 5 times longer. And it's more pervasive. Right. And they leave women out. That doesn't happen.
Not as successful.
And because women bring the whole conversation to the table.
They do. They bring their whole selves to the table. And we are known for our empathy. It's one of those, men have empathy too, just to be clear, my wonderful male listeners, but women are known for innovation and empathy and communication. And all of that is so vital in negotiating and in peace negotiations as well. My goodness. Well, you have a TED Talk. You did a TEDx called Own Your Voice. And I love the description about it as well. I mean, it says working with Libby includes diving into the extraordinary. She has the uncanny ability to help you select exactly the language you need to communicate in ways you've never done before. What created the impetus for you to do a TEDx talk? I'm a TED coach, to be fair, so I understand the work behind it. So, yeah.
We think we know each other. So here's the honest story. I was nominated for the Nellie Cashman Woman Business Owner of the Year. Oh, how cool is that?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay. And so I was a finalist for that, and we got to go and make a big speech, at the Four Seasons Hotel.
Yeah.
And
I remember
my talk was about quitting, actually.
Oh, I like it.
And after the event, this woman came up to me and she handed me her card and she said, "You need a bigger stage."
Oh, yeah.
She was a part of the local TED
I love it.
Group at the time. This was a while ago. And so I was like, oh, well, how cool is this? And it was so interesting. And I'll tell you a funny story. So it was so interesting because so I got excited and I really wanted a TED Talk and all that. And I ended up hiring a coach. It wasn't you.
Ah, wow.
Okay? It wasn't you, but I hired a coach. And I'm going to be honest with you. I went in a direction that didn't feel congruent to me.
Oh, no.
And
because
so
if it
when
doesn't
I
feel
went
right to you, it's not right.
No. And when I went to it wasn't really an audition or whatever, but it was however they screen people, right?
Right.
I speak and perform in front of so many people for so many years. And I was terrible. I was just terrible. I wasn't in my body. I knew it didn't go well. And so they didn't accept me. And I was really upset by this, it was something I felt like, and I had been invited. Like, that's the other thing, and I think, afterwards she was kind of like, what happened? That was not,
that was not it. That wasn't right.
And but I ended up later being invited actually to go to a women's specific TED event in Georgia.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And so that's where I ended up, but it was like a year or so later. Yeah.
I love it. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, that makes me happy. I was curious. It makes me happy. So by the way,
actually, this is the first time I've ever thought about it, actually, that the TED Talk I ended up doing was the one I really needed to hear before I went to do that thing. I wasn't listening to my own voice.
You weren't listening to your own voice.
Nope.
And part of owning your voice is listening to your own inner self.
That's absolutely essential, is the deep listening that we need to, and you might call it intuition or gut feeling or whatever. But I think that's also, it's true for anyone, but I think especially women in leadership, sometimes they don't trust their own knowing.
It's true.
They don't trust their own knowing because they've had experiences that told them they were wrong.
And I think that's really true in a lot of ways. We question ourselves, and it's difficult because, I grew up questioning myself, so it's always stayed there. But a lot of us, something has happened in our past or our present. Something has gone, oh, I need to question myself. And then we just start making a habit of that. And sometimes you just have to believe in your own voice and the power of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Libby, I know you've had mentors in your life. You've even told me about some of them in this conversation today. So at some point you received some sort of piece of advice that really, really struck you. What is something that was told to you that still resonates with you to this day?
I've been so lucky to have had mentors in different places in my career, whether it was, teaching or writing. And, I met David White at a really important juncture in my career where I had had my consulting business for about maybe 8 years or so, and I was successful, but I was also feeling like a sense of something missing. And part of it was, Andrea, when I went into this work, I never told anyone I was a poet.
But you are.
No, I was so afraid that someone would say to me, hey, so where'd you get your MBA? What are your credentials here? Right. And so it was interesting because when I started to have a relationship with him, and we had dinner one night, and I was talking, and he was asking me some questions, and then he looked at me and he said, the first thing you must do is reclaim yourself as an artist. And so important to me on so many levels. I mean, it also was like a knife to the heart, but it was, really, it was like, you're not actually showing up as your full self. And so whatever it is that happens is not going to be like, I'm not going to get to be wholehearted in it.
No, and you have to show up as your full self.
Absolutely. But I feel like, and even though I was very confident and accomplished and all those things, I mean, I do think sometimes that is something that many women leaders, struggle with because they've had to armor up, to go in and to be taken seriously and all those kinds of things. So that has always been important to me.
I think it's so important to show up as your whole self and to really learn to listen to that inner voice.
Yeah.
So Libby Wagner, I believe that every woman has a superpower, and I know you do. What is yours?
Well, I actually do think that my superpower is the ability to notice and listen deeply. And I think it's a superpower because, first of all, in order to write poetry and to walk around the world as a poet, we are noticing and we are listening. I think because I have spent so many years honing that it filters into every other thing that I do. And I think that's what also makes working with me different, because I am noticing, very close attention, and I am listening deeply. And so, I mean, sometimes that does come out as empathy or clarity or providing that clear language. But
right.
It's two things. Yeah.
It's your superpower to notice and listen deeply. And that can come out in a lot of different ways. So thank you for sharing your superpowers with us today.
Thank you. It's so great to be here with you.
Yeah, we've had such a wonderful conversation today with you, Libby. So you are a Renaissance woman, a poet, a musician, a writer, a speaker, and president and chief visionary officer of Influencing Options. My goodness. Where, Libby, can we find you online?
Oh, you can find me at libbywagner.com, actually.
And we will put that in the show notes.
Yes.
libbywagner.com. It's all there. Libby, thank you for being here today. This was so fun.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for the work you do supporting leaders of all kinds. It's so important.
Thank you. I love it. And listeners, I want you to remember we all have superpowers. Libby has the ability to notice and to listen deeply. What a beautiful superpower that is. Listeners, you have superpowers. Please use them for good. And thank you for listening today to the Lead Like a Woman show, where we're passionate about empowering female leaders to empower others. And I want you to go and remember that you have to show up as your whole self. Thank you and have a great afternoon.